Allegiance. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I'll move it. Second by Taylor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Items 2 through 8 constitute a consent agenda of routine action items to be considered by one motion. Items pass unanimously unless a separate vote is requested by a board member. Item 2 is approval of the minutes of the August 27th meeting. Item 3 is approval of the claims. Item 4 from Human Resources includes A, approval of memorandum of personnel transactions, and B, authorization to initiate the hiring process. 5 from Planning and Zoning is approval to set September 17th at 4:45 p.m., September 24th at 4:45 p.m., and October 1st at 4:45 p.m. for 3 public hearings for the consideration of proposed amendments and revisions to Woodbury County Ordinance Number 56, an ordinance regulating commercial wind energy conversion systems in unincorporated Woodbury County. Item 6 in the Board of Supervisors, Mr. Bittinger, is approval of resolution for abatement of taxes for Rolling Hills Community Services Region. Item 7 from Secondary Roads is approval of permit to work in the county right-of-way for Mark Godfredson. Item 8 from the Board of Supervisors and myself is previously authorized by the board and included in the backup materials and contract form. Today is authorize the chairman to sign consent and waiver with Allers and Cooney PC regarding joint representation of certain counties for purposes of seeking judicial review for the Iowa Utility Commission's decision granting a pipeline permit to Summit Carbon Solutions. Any questions on the consent agenda?
I'll move it and very appreciative of item 8.
Thank you. I'll second the motion by Taylor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. We'll go ahead and move on with our 4:35 p.m. set time. This is item 9 from Board Administration. Our public bidder, Heather, has it on for action. This is a public hearing and sale of property parcel also known as 512 to 14 Market Street. Before we receive bids, the public hearing is open for anyone who wishes to speak for or against the sale of the property. Is there anyone to speak before we receive bids?
Hearing none, Mr. Chair, I move that the public hearing be closed.
Second the motion by Taylor. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. We're now open to receive bids on this property. For anyone who would like to approach the microphone with their name, address, and opening bid.
Hello, my name is Salvador Palmillas. I live in 518 Market Street, and I would like to bid $265.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to bid?
I move that the property be sold to Mr. Padias. What was your last name? I'm sorry.
Palmillas, P-A-L-M-I-L-L-A-S.
Noted. To the gentleman in the back.
I'll second the motion by Taylor for the opening bid. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item 10 is reports on committee meetings. Mr. Radig?
I did have Simcoe SEDS, and I was informed by a citizen that not everybody knows our acronyms out there, so Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Committee. We had a guest from EDA, Economic Development Authority from the United States government, and kind of discussed how typically in funding for projects, they get about $10 million per year, which for an entire Midwest region is pretty small. But if there's a disaster supplemental, then sometimes they can get $50 million for a year. So he said with all the flooding, there could be a potential for disaster relief funds, and say like our, what was it? Mapleton, we were discussing, or Smithland, what was it, where the?
Levy Smithland?
Yep, Smithland. Okay, so on the east end there, you could look at building a bike trail to have a flood berm underneath it and use federal funds to do so, and then now you've protected the entire city from flooding using funds that are maybe potentially available. So it's something for you guys to maybe look at and discuss with Smithland, and I kind of move forward from there. And that's kind of all we really discussed that I can recall. Of course, we gave updates on projects and things that are going on, which the biggest public one is the potential for the larva protein plant in South Sioux, so Protix.
Okay, Mr. Taylor,
None, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Nelson,
None.
Mr. Binger.
Yes, all that I have is last week we went to the Safety Action Planning Committee meeting out in Lawton with our engineer, Mark Nara. And it was a gathering of different agencies and people that stakeholders in making sure that our roads are safe here in Woodbury County. And I'll leave this copy up here for any of the public when you come read this. But the big three things were that caused the most fatalities over the last 9 years in Woodbury County were speeding, unrestrained occupants, and underage drivers, meaning those that were young drivers or under 18 drivers. And so those were the top three causations of fatal or serious accidents here in Woodbury County. But it was a good coalition of people just trying to put together a good plan of how to address safety on the roads, and some really interesting data that was gathered. So anyhow, that's all that I had to report on.
Thank you.
I'll just leave this up here.
Okay.
See if anybody wants to read it yet.
Item 11 is citizen concerns. If you would like to make a comment, you may approach the microphone one at a time. State your name and address and your statement. The board rules state that the statements are limited to 3 minutes. I'll ask the county auditor and clerk to the board to keep time. Please be respectful of others' comments. And board members, if they wish to comment, can and should, unless there's a special reason to otherwise, limit their comments to board concerns in the following item. Please proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Todd Copley. I'm the president of AFSCME Council 61. We represent Iowa, Missouri, and Kansas, as well as the Woodbury County Attorney's Office. Sitting with us today in support are local officers representing the City of Sioux City, public employees, school bus drivers, City Assessor's Office, EMTs, Woodbury County Juvenile Detention, Woodbury County Courthouse, Sergeant Bluff Public Works and Police, community activists, and many others. The attorneys have received statements of support from locals across the state, and more came in even on the ride over from Des Moines. I'm here to talk about the elephant in the room, specifically the ridiculous comments in the press release made by Chairperson Ung last Thursday, August 29th at 1:51 in the a.m. Our union representative at the council office, Ben Ingersoll, over the last 18 months has had nothing but positive things to say about dealing with the board in negotiations and all other issues with Woodbury County. He actually would brag at staff meetings about how good the relationship was, how professional you guys were. And it surprises me why we've got to this point. And I don't understand why. The local union, the local here, was approached by the chairperson looking into ideas to correct the staffing concerns with the Woodbury County Attorney's Office. The local officers were asked for ideas in which they gladly offered their assistance. Some ideas that were brought up actually in negotiations last winter, but were denied by the board. Looking back, if the board would have just accepted those items that were offered in negotiations, would we be here right now? Would the elephant be in the room? After the MOU was drafted, the attorneys realized that although the recruitment process was being addressed, retention was not, and asked for some additional provisions, which were denied by Chairperson Ung, and which in return the attorneys refused to sign the MOU, which they have the right to do, which then prompted Chairperson Ung's 2 a.m. temper tantrum. Ironically, the union representative reached out and had a verbal agreement with Chairperson Ung to table this topic until after Labor Day weekend to let things settle down. We could talk to the employees, try and come to a resolution. But the end result shows Chairperson Ung's true integrity. The attorneys are overworked, and underappreciated. Caseloads in excess of 200 per employee didn't just happen overnight. It didn't happen because this MOU did not happen. Years of being underpaid, lack of retention, and poor management has caused the understaffing of the Woodbury County's Attorney's Office, not the union, which Chairperson Ung seems to want to believe. As far as claiming the union is putting the public safety in danger in his press release is absolutely not the union's fault and not true. As board members, you all need to understand that actions have consequences. Chairperson Ung claims that the dissolution of the union is merely his
Mr. Auditor, would
opinion.
you please announce when we reach 3 minutes so I don't have to every time?
So do I get an extra 3 seconds for him interrupting me?
Yes.
Chairperson Ung claims that the dissolution of the union is merely his opinion, but not when it's publicly in a press release stating his title as board chairperson and sent from his Woodbury County provided email. Do you all share the same opinions as Chairperson Ung? He also questioned your intestinal fortitude in his press release to agree with him. We take pride in keeping our members and local leadership personal information private, so that was and not provided on any AFSCME literature. How did you acquire the president of the local's personal cell phone number, and did you get permission to post it publicly in your press release? It's a yes or no question.
You're at your 3 minutes. If
You
the
gonna
board
answer the
would like,
question?
this is a time for you to share your concerns.
Answer the question.
If you have concerns, if you have things to say, this is a time for you to say it.
I answer the question.
If you want to have a debate, we can have that later.
It's not a debate. It's an answer. Yes or no? Did you get it legally from him? Did he give you permission to post it publicly in your 1:52 a.m. press release? Answer the question.
No.
So it's public information. We can get that if we have to. Here's your opportunity to explain yourself. Did you publicly get permission?
Does the board wish to waive the rules and extend the citizen comment for this one individual?
The ball is in your side of the court.
No, it's not.
Absolutely it is.
Does the board wish to extend and waive the rules for this individual?
You guys going to make him not answer?
Really?
The public has a right to know. The person involved has the right to know. He didn't give you permission. How did you get it?
He's an elected member of his union.
So? Is it posted on your website like
doesn't-
yours is? No, you're absolutely wrong. If he wants to post it, that's his choice. For you to acquire that without his permission and publicly put it in a press release against his permission is illegal. I don't care what your opinion is. Answer the question. Did you get it from him?
No.
How did you get it? How did you get it? How did you get his phone number?
Answer the question.
You're an elected official. You went out of your way to make that point clear in your press release. You're an elected official. Act like an elected official. How did you get that information?
Why does it matter?
Is the auditor going to object to him having extra time? He does it any other time.
The chairperson is now in charge.
But you object most
I
other
told
times.
him when the 3 minutes were up. That's my duty.
Answer the question.
It's up to him to control the meeting at this point.
Then how come you don't do that other times?
I've done
You can't hang up on me now. You hung up on me Thursday.
Back to the
Answer the question.
I already did.
Did you get permission from the person to publicly put that in the press release?
No. I think the media has a right to know who to contact, who
Why
can
didn't they
speak
just
for the
contact
union.
you? No, you're wrong.
No, I'm not wrong.
He's not an elected official. He's not a public elected official. Did you have a labor attorney?
I'm going to ask one more time, does the board wish to extend and waive the rules for this one individual?
Yes.
You want
Make a
to?
motion to suspend the rules.
I move to suspend.
Second.
Motion by Nelson, second by Taylor. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Continue with your comment.
What makes you think he's a public official? What gives you the right to do what you did without permission? Do you know the
See,
ramifications?
this is why I hung up on you, because we go around in circles.
You didn't answer
You
a
swore
question.
at me, you yelled at me.
Going around in circles and not answering a question are two different things. Don't avoid. You're in a public forum now, sir. Answer the questions. Answer everything.
The board
What gives
members,
you the
if they wish
right
to respond, can do
produce-
so
If you're
during board
talking and I am,
concerns.
you're not listening. What gives you the right to publicly produce that information? Because you're a chairperson of this board? You're not a supreme leader here. You've been here for 10 years. One of you has also been here for 10 years. But that does not give this man the right to rule your opinions. Did he check with any of you before he sent out this statement? There's a no. Did he check? No. Did you check with your labor attorney to see if any of this was all right? Do you realize the violations that you have created for this board? Numerous prohibitive practices with PERB. Do you know what those are? Your labor attorney would have told you that if you would have asked. Or talked to one of these guys. You guys are all elected for the same reason he's here, correct? Yes or no, guys? Help me. You guys are all elected for the same purposes as he is. He is not your boss. He is not your spokesman. He had the audacity to even question your.
So,
He questioned you guys. Intestinal
as a
fortitude.
board, I think we can all say we didn't have any discussion. He spoke from his opinion.
It's not an
And-
opinion, sir. When you
well-
use your title and you use it through your employer's email, that opinion is out the door.
And
Absolutely eliminated.
This is a business meeting, which this is now obviously county business, but it's not on the agenda. It's not for give and take discussion because it's not on the agenda. It's concerns. So it's not necessarily following the format of the agenda. So if you have concerns with Matthew, I would bring them to the podium. If you want to put something on the agenda in the future, that would be something for that. But none of us have any intentions, I think, of stating all our own personal opinions and everything.
I just
at this
asked a
moment.
yes or no question, really.
And, I think any issues you guys have with Matthew, discuss with him, but as far
Well,
as this meeting goes,
As a chairperson, my question is he speaking for each one of you guys?
and I think we all answered that, so.
I'll respond with no.
I'm sorry,
I'll respond with no.
he's not speaking for you?
That's correct. I think we are all separately elected officials. Nobody on this board speaks for one another, and certainly not in this situation or in this case. So I'll just go ahead and address, if I may, so that we don't have a lot of back and
Absolutely.
forth. I read the news at the same time as our media and the rest of the public. So I was commending the union representatives and Chairperson Ong, because I thought it was a really creative solution for a long-standing need. And I thought it was a good offer by the county, and I thought it was assented to by the union. It's a mistake what was sent out. I mean, I don't think anybody up here is going to say that it was a good idea.
He hasn't yet.
Granted that, I'm just sharing from my perspective.
Sure.
I don't think any one of the other four is going to say it was a good idea to call for the decertification or the disbanding of the union. I'm a union member myself. I think that it makes sense for a give and take, and it sounds to me like there was a request to come back to the table at some point, and there wasn't any discussion that I'm aware of that Chairperson Ong had with anybody to say that that negotiation, even though I know it's an MOU, was cut off and there was no more to be heard or said. So it's a mistake from my perspective.
I appreciate that.
And the thing that I think is unfortunate is because I think that there were some really good things that could have addressed the situation. And right now, we're not talking about that. And unfortunately, and that's not against anybody in the room, and it's not even directed here, it's just unfortunate that right now, because of some of these actions, that we're talking about something that doesn't address a staffing shortage.
I agree 100%. If the agreement to table the situation would have just been fulfilled, I think we could have started back up and come to a resolution instead of having to do it like this. 100% I agree with that, because that's how we do our business. Airing out our dirty laundry is not what AFSCME does, and we felt that this was Chairperson Ung airing out dirty laundry, and we just don't do that. We're professional in how we do things, and this is not professional. 100% not professional, especially as an elected official. His misconception on what he thinks is elected, private, public are diluted. He probably should inform himself a little bit better. Would be a good idea, so we don't have to go through this again.
Is that it?
Anybody else want to speak up there?
I guess my question was there, prior to the vote, I guess I wasn't aware that there was an agreement to delay, or that was never at least relayed to me. Was that something that was put forward prior to the vote or not?
Yeah.
Or after?
The representative reached out to Chairperson Ung and said, let's just table this. We can talk to the staff. see what
After
we
the
can-
vote?
After this.
Okay,
after
thank
the-
you. I just
see
wanted
what
to make sure that there wasn't.
we could get to work some things out. And the only reason it was, their additional requests were denied immediately, and concerning retention. Everybody agrees there's a problem. There's a systemic problem in the county attorney's office here at Woodbury County. And to try and get people in the door, that's hard. It's hard to get people in the door. Now you got to keep them. Once you get them in, is the incentive package to get them through the door very promising? 100%. Get them in the door. What are you going to do to keep them? That was something that was left off the table. And the attorneys wanted to bring that up, and the door was slammed. And they reacted, said, then we're not going to vote for this. And the representative reached out to Chairperson Ung to table this. Let's see what we can do. Let's pick this back up. Give it, cooler minds will prevail. Well, all but one. So,
Supervisor Nelson, would you ask me that same question, please?
I don't know, I'm not sure what question you're at, but my question for you is gonna be, so whoever wants to answer it, was there an ask by the attorneys union prior to the vote for benefits or incentives for retention?
Are you asking me?
Whoever would like, yes. Sure.
No, there was not.
Was there one afterwards?
Yes.
And what was your response to that?
That I was not authorized to do that because that is not what the board approved.
Just from my foxhole, it would have been nice to have been asked. Because what was sent out, I think has, and I'm hopeful this isn't the case, it's obliterated the thing. I mean, I don't see anybody coming to the table right now. And so I guess my 2 cents would be, I want something, I mean, my shelf life here is short. I have nothing to lose, nothing to gain by saying it. But I think for the future, you know, if there were a couple of people who are going to stay on longer, perhaps Supervisor Bittinger, maybe
Excuse me.
Supervisor Nelson.
Mr. Bittinger was kept apprised of all progress during these negotiations, as was the HR director.
So was Supervisor Bittinger, were you asked about this offer to have retention as a part of the package? And did you say, I'm not interested?
Yes, that was brought up about, the request was for retention efforts. And I said that wasn't what the MOU, what was not, was voted on. It was for current new hires. And so I said that right now I want to leave it as just what's currently on the MOU as addressing new hires. I do agree, yeah, retention is very important, sir. I agree, but the MOU was specifically for new hires. I agree, every workman's worth their wage, and yes, I don't know historically the wages compared to other counties historically regarding the county attorney's office, which I can become light of that, and I'll do some research. However, it was addressing new hires. But addressing new hires was not the devaluation of the value of any county attorney in here, in our office, or devaluation of their experience or their workload. You are correct. They have a huge workload. I can only imagine that, of the stress that would bring. But the current MOU was addressing new hires. And so that's why when Chairman Ung addressed me of that, saying they were asking for retention efforts, I said, that's a valid ask. However, that should have been brought up on the day when the board approved the MOU, when the union representative, Mr. Ingersoll, was here and said, it's a good to go. The board in good faith voted on that. I'm always for, the workman can always ask for more things, and I agree with you. It's a great position of unions to ask for benefits, retention, right, take care of employees. And I think that's a great thing to make sure employees are taken care of. However, the original intent of the MOU was new hires, and that's why my suggestion to Super Chairman Ung was just that we need to keep to what was the original intent of the MOU. And once again, I couldn't speak for the board unilaterally and say, hey, we're going to change it up and add retention benefits in there. But with that, I think anybody on our board would have been open to, if we just signed the new contract, union contract through 2027. I think any one of us would have probably been open to looking at maybe a contract reopener just to deal with it. We understand there's a lot of stress, a lot of high caseloads on the employees. I would be open to that. However, this seems like a bait and switch in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying no one had any intent. I understand they are asking for more retention things and bonuses and help. I get it, they're working hard. However, the main purpose of this, like I've stated already, was new hires, and that it was a matter of priority, not a matter of value or worth of our employees. By addressing new hires, we were no means, and I think very clearly no one was stating that their current employees were less than or shouldn't be considered. So, and you can disagree with that, that's fine, or.
It has nothing to do.
Hang on.
It has nothing to do with disagreeing.
Hang on, sir. I want to address Mr. Taylor here. If I'm being lectured about not speaking for the board, don't speak for Mr. Bittinger before you've heard what he has to say. Don't assume that he was not okay with what I did. Because he
spoke for
just
the other
said
I think that's
he
why I
was.
asked him the question.
You're kind of the pot calling the kettle black because you spoke for the other four in your press release.
I think I asked him a question. to
I
clarify.
spoke for the county's MOU, which was unanimously supported by the board, and then I spoke
As
for myself.
chairperson, you represent the board.
Yes,
Do
you
not
are
know
attacked by my
anything?
opinion. That is correct. I do have an opinion. I have a right to that, just like you.
Not the way you posted it.
Oh, I don't have a right to my opinion?
Not when you post
That
it
makes
with
the
your
news.
title.
I hope
If
that
you're
makes
sitting
the
with
news.
these guys in an
Chairman
office,
Ung
that's an
does not have a
opinion.
right to his opinion. Good one.
You might want to get some clarification on that.
Let's get back to following the rules. He's talked long enough.
The rules have been suspended.
That's correct.
Stay suspended.
They have been suspended. It's Chairman Ung is running the meeting at this point.
Officer, you're gonna interrupt me for saying something we need to correct. Thank you.
Sorry, what was the question?
Will you respond to that? Do you want to continue the meeting going in this route or suspend it or not?
I do not personally, not speaking for the board, I do not personally think it is helpful to continue this meeting this way. I think it's disrespectful to the other people that came here to speak. But being presiding officer does not mean I am dictator of the board, and it is up to the board to continually suspend the rules, or do we want
The
to?
only question I would ask is the county attorney to tell you whether or not there's deliberation going on, because this is not on the agenda.
This is deliberation.
Okay. I'll make a motion to go back to the rules. So,
Well, and again, I would just like to say that discussion needs to be posted on the agenda. And if you want to just voice concerns, that's That's what it is. It's not a discussion, it's not a debate, so.
I'll make
I
a
think
motion to
everybody's heard what they want to hear. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. He's left.
Okay.
Mr. Otter, please do the same. Thank you.
3 minutes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Why am I still here? I've been asking myself that since reading Mr. Ung's early Thursday post on his Facebook account. Why am I working for management who hold contempt in their hearts for me after serving 4.5 years of this office, serving the 105,000 good people of Woodbury County in the role as an assistant county attorney? The state of the office I work in is dire, and we haven't been fully staffed for years now. We are bordering on an outright crisis here. We've successfully agreed to 2 prior MOUs and a new 3-year contract in recent years without the acrimony of this most recent round of talks. Mr. Ung's statements on Thursday are unhelpful and unprofessional. They create bad blood between the union and the county and make further conversations more difficult. Mr. Ung's post portrays us as ungrateful, spoiled children who should be grateful for what we've been offered by the county. While I concede there are many good things to the MOU offered by the county, there are also serious problems not mentioned in Mr. Ung's post. First, there were differences between what was discussed and the version that was presented for our vote several days later, including a new split in when the additional proposed county attorney personal days could be taken. Second, the MOU does little to reward those who have been at the office for many years, causing potential resentment that could lead to those long-tenured attorneys quitting, bleeding yet more prosecutor experience in an office that has already shed well over 100 years of experience in just 2 years. Finally, employees could in theory quit today under the proposed MOU and get rehired and get a higher salary than what they're currently getting. The day-to-day work of our office is nonpartisan. The attempts to make it appear such are misleading. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, we drive the same streets and want drunk drivers off them. No one wants shootings in their neighborhoods, drugs being sold near their kids' school, their car broken into, or their catalytic converter stolen. My colleagues are a mix of Democrats and Republicans, and this holds as well for the true as well for the union for the record. It is 60% Republicans and 40% Democrats. We don't always agree, but we can be professionals, respect each other, act like grown adults, and get the job done for the good people of Woodbury County. Framing this as us intentionally endangering public safety is also deeply insulting. This frames us as against law enforcement when nothing could be further from the truth. I have come to know many law enforcement officers in our community personally, and I always sign each email to an officer with a wish for their safety in the field as they work in our community. Ironically, the men and women of law enforcement probably understand better than anyone the frustration one feels when a public narrative is incomplete, lacks important context, or is outright fabricated. Our union's collective no vote is what prevented the immediate hemorrhaging of several more attorneys. We continue to come to work despite the insults and incomplete narrative presented to the public. We can still talk. We can still reach an understanding, a compromise, but that can never happen with the juvenile insults and a closed fist. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Before we hear from the next person, I let Jeremy speak in response to a citizen concern, so I'm going to allow myself to speak in response to this one. I was informed in no uncertain terms that the MOU was rejected. This is not a contract bargaining operation. This is a memorandum of understanding initiated by the county. Also, I've been hearing, of course, since the MOU passed in public session with no negative discussion, of course, no transparent negative discussion for the good of the MOU. Afterwards, I heard about this complaint that Trevor brought up, which I actually understand, and that is you can quit and be hired at a higher rate. Now, why is that? The MOU proposes raises every 6 months rather than 12 months. The question was posed to me during the drafting of the MOU by the HR director in coordination with our legal counsel. For new hires, which the county attorney is authorized to hire up to a step of experience level, do those steps represent 12 months each as they do under the current contract, or do they represent 6 months each as under the MOU as passed by the board? Or as proposed by the board, I should say at that point. That's a good question. What is the right answer? What is fair? Didn't anticipate this being an issue. But I write emails when other people prefer to have phone discussions that they can lie about and hide behind and say things didn't happen. When I was discussing this with the HR director, Melissa Thomas, I wrote, in response to the drafting, she had some particular questions related to the attorney days, how they're distributed. You still get a week. Yes, they're cut up half and half. You still get the week. Nothing's taken away from you. There's a question about the sign-on bonus remaining for all new hires as opposed to just ones at step one. And then the question of the increments of experience used to measure what step the county attorney can start them at has been changed to 6 months. And she said this needs basically editing or approval. And I said, does that make the max experience credited? I said, what does that make the max experience credited? 4 years? She said, yes. Then in one more year, they would be at the top. Because since they represent 6 months, you have 4 years experience, you're hired at step 8. In 1 year, you're at step 10, which would be the new highest level. So yes, you could be hired at 4 years experience of prosecutorial experience and in 1 year be capped out. My response, check with the union on that. Are they okay with transferring employees advancing at the same rate as current? Or is it more fair, as I assumed, that for purposes of hiring outside staff, the steps would represent 12 months, i.e. up to 8 years experience? If they want 4 years, that's fine, but also seems extremely, extremely, extremely generous to transfers. Melissa responded on Friday, August 9th at 9:23 a.m., will do. She contacted the rep of the union by phone, regrettably by phone call. Was informed by Ben Ingersoll that the union is okay with it representing 6 months. The only one that is attacking the organization, the right to organize, is a union that does not communicate with the representative, and where that representative, unfortunately, does not speak for the union members. That is why I called the original meeting and I requested the union members to be there, because I want to know who speaks for the union. I still don't know. I still don't know. Ben said, the union rep for the attorneys union said it was okay to have them represent 6 months. Later, when I did my last-ditch appeal to Mr. Jason Kurtz, who I know is the president of the union, I basically said, please get your members to sign this MOU and let's address this understaffing issue. The response I got was about people potentially quitting, and in particular, quote, he wrote August 29th at 2:27, says AM here, at no time was it ever discussed that the experience requirement would be essentially cut in half so that someone with 4 years of experience would be brought in and paid at the rate of 8 years experience. This would mean that 3 current attorneys would be making less than new attorneys while having to train them on the job. Why would anyone ever find that to be a benefit? Put yourself in my shoes. The union's representative said the union reported to the county HR director, which is Woodbury County, not me. I asked for her to clarify that because I saw the concern in that. I understand that concern. I even believe Mr. Loomis understands that concern. My response was to defer to the union. Yes, it was. She contacted Ben by phone. Ben said the union was okay with 6 months. And later on, the president of the union tells me they're not okay with 6 months. Your union is disorganized. That is not on Woodbury County, and that is not on me. Next speaker.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Athena Ladias. I'm Assistant Woodbury County Attorney. Live at do I have to say my address out loud for the news?
We'll waive that.
Thank you. I stand before you on behalf of not only the attorneys in my office, but the support staff as well, when I say that your comments regarding the union rejection of the board's MOU proposal were not only unprofessional, but reprehensible. You have no idea the sacrifices that each of us have made and continue to make on a daily basis to ensure that the cases are timely filed and prosecuted in order to provide not only protection, but justice to the people of Woodbury County. I have been with Woodbury County now for almost 16 years. I became a union member and a union representative shortly after I started working here. I can say with the utmost certainty that the predicament we are in was born through the inactions of the Board of Supervisors in failing to recognize the inadequacies of the salary and benefits as compared to other counties. For years, we begged you to make the necessary changes, but upon deaf ears. Despite that history, we were still extremely grateful when it took the severe office shortage to make you act, and that you began to see how these failings added up to losing prospective attorneys to other counties that offered more salient options. And we were still grateful when we reached out for a third time, which is why we met with you and went over a proposal. But we were shocked when the terms that were submitted to the board for approval were changed from what was actually discussed in that meeting. Conveniently, those are the items that consistently remain out of all your public tirades. You promote the extra vacation days. None of us are currently able to take those. We haven't been taking vacation because we care about our office. We care about the work we have been consistently doing, and more importantly, we care about our coworkers not wanting to add to their plate that is already full if they have to cover our absence. We've come to work ill and against medical advice for injuries to keep our office running. This benefit was never intended for current attorneys, but for a new way to bring in a new hire. So what was changed? Let's start with the remote work option, which sunsets when fully staffed. This option only became available to us when we were actually fully staffed. In our current work environment, we are all unable to take it. It is not feasible. This was discussed at length in that meeting, with all of us agreeing that we couldn't even offer this benefit to new hires unless it remained through the end of our current contract. Yet it was changed without warning and without reason. Basically, it doesn't really exist. However, the change that was even more insulting, and that Mr. Ung was recently speaking about, was the changing of the rate at which a new attorney could be hired. In what world, under what good business practice, would it ever make sense to give someone with, say, 2 years' experience, double the experience to 4, which would cause them to make more than an existing attorney who would then have to train them on the job? Why would anyone ever agree to that? I had a non-union felony attorney come to my office just to verify that the union members wouldn't sign off on that agreement. That person indicated it would be better for her to quit and try to get rehired than stay under those conditions. In our line of work, experience matters, and we won't stand to lose any more experienced attorneys than we already have. And so we listened not only to the voices of our union members, but also our non-union members as well, and we voted no to this proposal. My office will survive because my colleagues have each other's backs. We will continue to work hard for this county without complaint as we have done for the past 2 years. It does not matter if they are Republican or Democrat, I will stand beside them. But for the record, Mr. Ung, I'm a registered Republican and a proud union member. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good afternoon. My name's Bob Henderson. I reside at 4540 Talbot Road. I also serve as a state legislator representing the 2nd District here that's completely in Woodbury County. I thought that this discussion would be about a remedy for a serious problem that's happening in our county attorney's office, and that is to try to remedy that. And what I've heard is a discussion about protocol here rather than the discussion to remedy the problem. When one is elected to an office, as all of us have been, we get reminded from time to time that we're supposed to be representing the community that we have been elected from. That's also true in the private section. When you're elected to an office in a private situation, you are supposed to be representing those people there as well. I want to tell you that in the past session of the legislature, we passed a very robust bill to increase teacher salaries, beginning teacher salaries to $50,000 a year and after 11 years in the same district, $62,000 in an attempt to be able to remedy what we thought was a problem in recruiting teachers and retaining teachers in the state. It was interesting to note that we had the full support, the complete support of the Iowa State Education Association, the largest union in the state of Iowa, bar none, for that bill. And there were lots of apprehension, lots of objections to that from the party that did not bring that forward, to the point where I don't think we had more than 3 votes from that party when it came to it. But they were irrelevant. The protocol was irrelevant. What was important was solving the problem. And so I would urge everybody here, both parties, to start to focus on the problem that's at hand and to do something about that. That's really important. And anything else is irrelevant, but it is not viewed that way from the outside. That's important to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt Berzani. I'm a 13-plus year assistant Woodbury County attorney. I just wanted to make a few statements regarding the type of people that are still in our office.
Sorry, could you please move the mic up? Fellow tall person.
The attorneys that are still here, they're all dedicated to their job and to the citizens of Woodbury County. I'm going to use myself as an example to show you the type of dedication that we have. On Easter Sunday this year, I tore my bicep. It's not fun. I don't recommend it. Found myself at work later that day, pulling files with my arm in a makeshift sling, sending out emails to the other attorneys in my office to make it as easy as possible for them, because they're going to have to cover my shift the next day. Met with folks at CNOS, do incredible work. On Monday, x-rays, MRIs, met with surgeons to set up basically a bicep repair surgery. Against the advice of my doctors, I was at work the next day. Against the advice of my doctors, I had my repair surgery delayed until they could do it on a Friday, so I could limit the amount of time I missed work. Why did I do this? Because I care about my coworkers, I care about Woodbury County. I literally have hundreds of hours of sick time that I could have used. I took 2 days off work. After the surgery, I was back the following Monday, against the advice of my doctors. This is the type of dedication that I have for my job and for Woodbury County. Every single attorney in our office could give you examples of what they do to put their job in front of their life, in some cases in front of their own health. I'm not the only attorney in our office that came back to work against the advice of their doctors. You know, we're not using vacation time. We're not taking time off work. We're coming into work on nights and weekends. We're not getting paid for that, but we do it anyway because we care about this county. When a coworker pointed out to me your 2 a.m. post, I was shocked. Couldn't believe you're going to tell these people that are going above and beyond that they are creating a danger to Woodbury County. I found that statement repugnant, and I wanted to tell you that personally. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ben Ingersoll.
Western Iowa Union representative for ASME. I thought I would counter Mr. Ung's accusations against me. It's nice to actually be able to talk to you. You haven't answered my phone calls since last Thursday, nor my emails. So before you misunderstand our conversations, we need to have them. I got a hold of you early Thursday morning. You never returned my phone call. I emailed you early Thursday morning. You also never returned that email. So if you would like to get to an email-only basis with me, we can do that. I have bad actors on this side of the state that are on email only. I've never wanted that with you guys. It's always been a phone call and working together. But if that's what you prefer, we can do that. That's not what ASME prefers. And you also need to pick one spokesperson. I talked to you, I talked to the HR director, I talked to your labor attorney. All three of you need to communicate and actually get on one page before you accuse me of something slanderous. Why haven't you answered me? You have a responsibility to answer me.
I can respond if you'd like.
Please, it'd be nice.
Yes. I didn't respond to you after that because I had already emailed you and called you several times before. Can I please?
Please do, sorry.
That's all right. And we've had a good working relationship, I think, up to this point, I'd say. And I've told you that. We've had good conversation. We've had conversations before the press release that I know you'll never share with the public. I know you won't. I know you won't, because it wouldn't look good. I have sympathy for your position when you aren't apprised of everything your members want. And that's one of the reasons I didn't call you back. I knew the fallout this would create. And if I was going to make one phone call post-press release, I was going to return Mr. Todd Copley's email requesting, his email said he wants to come to an immediate resolution or immediately address the issue. My 25-minute phone call with him did not address anything. He just shouted at me. He told me I was breaking Iowa code by sharing my opinion. And we went round and round circles. I got accused of a lot of things. I got lambasted, and I just took it. You know, it's my job. And at one interesting point, he goes, "Are you calling me from your cell phone?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "So you don't mind if I put your cell phone out there?" And I said, "No. My cell phone's on my email signature. It's in the board agendas on top. It's in the public website. Why do I care?" And for the record, I didn't think that would be the issue that started off this meeting. And Mr. Kurtz, I know no one in this room probably cares to hear it or will believe me, but I'm sorry if that offended you. I didn't mean to offend you by sharing your phone number. But when we have issues as a county board and we talk to department heads and we're always asking each other for phone numbers. And I figure you're a leader, and that comes with the territory. Speaking for your organization, whether your organization is going to back you up later or not, is something that a leader does. And so I spoke to your leader, Mr. Ingersoll. I've had a good relationship with you. I'm not naive. I send this out. I know that's going to nuke this relationship because it's frankly secondary in importance to me of the work of Mr. Loomis's office and getting the work done. So when I called him, I didn't get anywhere with him. And I figure you're on your team, you have your role, I have my role, the county passed an MOU, your members rejected it, and that's fine. And I don't hold that against you personally, but I didn't call you back because I had already called you. And I had already told you, this is a public news item, it's good news. We passed the MOU. Everyone knows it's coming. Everyone knows the board did this. No one heard any objections during the meeting. All the objections wait, like everything in public service. Why do people not want to serve in public office? It's because all the objections comes after you do something and not while you're asking for input. And I was very transparent with you and the members This is when it's going to be on the agenda, and it's going to be on the agenda soon because this, I'm being told, is an emergency. And it's a real issue. And you said it was catastrophic. Catastrophic is a strong word. We're talking about strong words today. Catastrophic means fix it now. There's a catastrophe.
You're
You s-
rambling. Do you have a point?
Yes. Because I didn't think it would get anywhere.
So what do you think?
And I request all communications with your union in the future to be in writing.
It's a bad road to take, Mr. Young. And before
Why?
you accuse me of not being the prize, or whatever term you used, you realize the gentleman to your left and your right just said you don't speak for him. You're no prize. I have
Prize?
hardworking members here. Excuse me? Is there
Prize?
confusion? Just
You
like
say-
our phone calls, is there confusion?
No, did you say prize?
Yeah, you accuse me of not being the prize that the members wanted. I accuse you of not being the prize your members wanted. Sir, if you're going to slander me in public, I have the right to respond. I'm sorry that somehow this moved too fast for you to keep up. You asked for their input, they gave it to you. Every time. I ask everybody else up in that booth, continue working with us, because we are not your enemy. Those attorneys and their union, their local, are not your enemies, like they're being portrayed.
Did you tell our HR director that 6 months was appropriate to represent steps for transferred hires?
I believe I said, if that's what you want to propose, do it, and they have the right to send it back to you. Were you on that phone call?
No.
Okay.
So someone says, I want to go eat at Olive Garden, you say, that's all right with me if that's what you want to do.
Are you asking me out?
It's a good joke.
It is.
Normally, Mr. Raddick does those. A little levity's nice, thank you.
I would very much prefer to get back to the working relationship that I have had with you.
Yes.
But the 2 a.m. thing while you're out of town, highly inappropriate. And now I have to ask, is the board, who is going to represent you against the prohibited practice complaints and all the other litigation that is coming your way? Does the county provide that? Does the county pay that expense? You are acting as an agent of the county. Who provides you your legal representation?
What's the crime? Having an opinion that if the union is not going to be a part
I'll
of the
let-
problem, they
I'll
should
let you-
voluntarily
I'll
dissolve?
let you and your attorneys argue that. Who's going to represent you? Is the county paying for that? This is a public issue.
It's very hypothetical.
Again, we are moving into deliberation. We need to have something on the agenda if we're going to keep discussion going, which we cannot do today, obviously.
Thank you, Mr. Raddick.
I would like to see us move on with either completion of citizen concerns or move to board concerns.
Thank you.
The 2 a.m. email is a big deal, I see. A guy works 3 jobs. He does tend to work odd hours when other people are sleeping. I even worked on Labor Day, all right? And guess what? Jason Kurtz's email to me August 29th that I mentioned earlier, 2:27 a.m. Okay, he works overnights. That's a valid excuse, sir. Good for you. So do I. Okay? Sorry, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Lawan Hensley. I'm one of the assistant county attorneys in the Woodbury County Attorney's Office. Based on my position in the office, whether this MOU passes or not, it doesn't affect me. And I did not participate in any of the discussions, nor was I involved in the voting process. But based on the comments from Chairman Ung, I felt it was important to be here today and support the attorneys in my office. First, I want to thank Chairman Ung and the entire Board of Supervisors for your efforts and support in trying to get us the help that we need to help fill this shortage of attorneys in our office. It is appreciated. We really do appreciate all your efforts. I know the board has worked with Mr. Loomis and the union on prior occasions too to come up with ways to help us, and that also is appreciated by all of us. I respect Chairman Ung's right to have his feelings of disappointment that this MOU didn't pass, and I respect his right to have his opinions. The issue that I have are with the statements that Mr. Ung made that the vote by the attorneys union endangers public safety and implying that we are in any way not prosecuting crimes and therefore law enforcement efforts are taken in vain. That is so far from the truth. I can't even begin to explain how far from the truth that is. There isn't a single case that comes through our office that hasn't been prosecuted because we are short attorneys. The attorneys have worked harder and taken on giant caseloads, put in extra time, taken on so much extra to ensure that every case gets prosecuted in the proper way. And that starts with our county attorney. James has been in trial for weeks at a time, prosecuting the toughest and most serious cases instead of pleading them down so that he would have time to deal with some of the other issues in the office. He takes cases to trial, he tries them, and he does that, as does every attorney in our office. Other attorneys in our office has not only taken on more of their caseload, but they've taken cases to trial on very short notice. We've had 2 attorneys recently just take cases to jury trial because an attorney has left. These 2 cases just got dumped on them. They went to trial. They could have pled it down, they could have dismissed it, but they didn't. They took it to trial and got convictions. This is done without a single complaint from any of them. I know because I'm responsible for making sure things get covered. I ask people to do things and they do it. Nobody complains, nobody asks for anything. They just do it because they know it needs to be done. Everyone has plugged away and worked extra hard over the last 2 years and has done so because of 2 reasons. 1, we believe in what we're doing. We believe that we are doing a job that is good for our county and we believe in the work that we do. And 2, because we appreciate and respect the person that we work for, and that's James. We appreciate and respect the hard work that he puts in and the example that he sets every day. Again, the efforts that the board has put in to help us is appreciated, but it is completely inaccurate to say that because the union attorneys exercised their right to vote, they are in any way endangering the public safety or taking law enforcement efforts in vain. I'm really sad to hear that part because right now our relationship with law enforcement is the best that it has ever been. And to give out any implication or any indication that we're doing anything to not take their efforts serious is just appalling. It is the exact opposite what our attorneys are doing right now than what Mr. Ung has implied. Over the last 2 years, when we have been down 5, then 6, then 7, and now 8 attorneys, everyone in the office has taken on more and more and more to ensure that every case is prosecuted properly. James wouldn't accept anything less. Thank you.
Thank you.
Doyle Turner, 2738 200th Street, Mobile. I would just like to add that anybody that put their phone number back there, just put their phone number in public. That is a public document, just so you know. So I don't see where putting a phone number out there is really the issue here. I can tell you.
Excuse me, you're referring to the sign-in sheet for visitors?
The sign-in sheet,
Thank you.
yes. That is a public document. And I have had people call me based off of that document also. I want to tell you that I've been coming to these meetings for a good 2 years. And I have talked to every one of these supervisors at some point in time, and I've talked to Mr. Loomis as well about the shortfall we have in the attorneys. I can tell you that every one of these board members take this very serious. We have had discussions about different ideas from anything you can think of on how to solve this problem. Maybe Mr. Ung's words are being taken in a way that are unfortunate. I don't know whether he meant them that way or not. That's between him and other people. But I can tell you that everybody up here takes this issue very seriously. And that I firmly believe when he said that this endangers things, when you have people calling this catastrophic, which I personally think it is close to catastrophic because these people are being overworked. When you have 8 people missing out of 18, that's 44%. That is a large number, and I want everybody here to know that everybody up here takes it very seriously. They are doing everything, they're racking their brains trying to fix this problem. But I think we also have to remember that these aren't the only employees that our board hires. And as far as I am aware, the attorneys got the highest amount of raise of anybody employed by the county. They went from getting, being able to step up every year to being able to step up every 6 months. I think you have to realize that when we talk about airing laundry, I think we're taking a risk. When we've got the ag economy hurting very bad, we have union jobs that are not only being laid off, but the job is disappearing, it's going to another country. I think you have to understand that the public is being taxed to their limit, while our board has not raised the levy in 9 years, and yet has been able to give the attorneys already more raise than anybody else got. As a citizen, I look at it and I say, boy, they're trying, and I take it a little bit insulting that we argue over what I think aren't the issues, like phone numbers. This is a real issue. I believe it deserves real attention, and I believe this board has given it to that. And I would just like to see the union pare it back and work with our board, because I know our board is willing to work with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. You and I have, in the past, we butted heads before, publicly. And I appreciate what you said. I appreciate you come up here and say that. You're not beholden to any special interest tonight. I see you as a straight shooter. I don't really know what you're going to say anytime you get up here, which is not true of everyone else in this room. So I want to thank you for being a straight shooter and representing the taxpaying public with your comments.
Can I add one thing?
Sure.
Mr. Ung and I did butt heads, but never at one time did he ever say anything that wasn't true. We saw things from a different perspective. We interpreted something different, but never once did he say anything that wasn't true.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Pellant, and I'm the president of the Western Iowa Labor Federation. I just want to say simply that we represent 37 counties in Western Iowa, as many of you know, thousands of union workers in Western Iowa, and we're just here to stand in solidarity with the county attorneys in this office, or in this union. I think it's interesting that Mr. Young compliments Mr. Turner for being a representative of the community. Like, who do you think these other people are? You've had county attorney after county attorney after county attorney get up here and tell you about the extraordinary work that they're doing, not taking sick leave, not taking vacation, but yet somehow their recitation of their own story doesn't deserve this sort of obsequious praise that we have for Mr. Turner, who sits in the back of the room.
Excuse me,
and
we've
yells at people.
complimented those people before, but you just weren't in those meetings.
Well, okay, fine. I'm just saying in this meeting, those recitations have gone uncomplimented, and then the one that praises you somehow is the one that gets complimented. So, and I just too. We've had our issues with Mr. Young's leadership before too, and I can see that he does not speak for the entire board. I just might want to throw it out there for your consideration that maybe that's not the person that you want to have as your elected chair of the board. Be somebody who throws temper tantrums on social media like a petulant teenager, insults the hardworking employees of this county. Public service is not something people go into to get rich. It's a calling, it's a duty, they do it because they love the work and they love their community. And this kind of disrespect coming from the chair of your board doesn't help you retain people, and it doesn't help you attract them. So That in and of itself might be part of the problem. Something to think about.
Can I ask you a question?
You may.
Does rejecting the MOU help?
I don't know the details of the negotiations, but I can tell you this.
Everyone else knows that wasn't involved.
Negotiating in public like you have been is not only unprofessional, it's a violation. The other thing that's disturbing here is you have an elected county official that apparently doesn't know that there's something called the Public Employee Relations Act. Apparently doesn't know that there's something called the Public Employee Relations Board that enforces that part of the code. As Mr. Ingersoll said, that's something you should think about. Because he's putting this board, or he's incurring liability on behalf of the board that you're not going to want. So get read up on your Iowa code.
You didn't answer my question. The MOU is public information. Is rejecting it helpful?
I am not a part of these negotiations.
Again,
Thank you.
I'm just here to stand in solidarity with the county attorney.
Thank you.
refrain back and forth and move on. I gotta get somebody somewhere, and I don't want to spend all day here because of something that was said by not me, so.
Anyone else to speak during citizen concerns? Mr. Loomis, would you like to make a comment?
I would. Sometimes we need to have perspective. Everybody. Perspective on what's important, what really matters, and what we're doing. I probably opened this can of worms back in January when I took over, January of 2023, when our office was facing a significant problem. And here's the words that I brought it with me tonight because I thought it was appropriate. I'm going to read it. Thank you for the opportunity to bring to your attention the number one issue and my number one priority as I step into the role of county attorney, which is filling the 5 vacant attorney positions. The Woodbury County Attorney's Office is tasked with working hand in hand with law enforcement and community leaders to hold criminals accountable, work to get justice for victims, deter others from committing similar offenses, and ultimately to work to keep all our communities as safe as possible. What does that mean to me? In short, we serve to try and keep our families as safe as possible as we go about our daily activities. This afternoon, January of 2023, I don't remember the date, I'm coming to this board to let you know that this shortage of prosecuting attorneys, if it continues indefinitely, will begin to have an impact on the county attorney's office ability to serve. Those were my opening words. That still holds true today. The attorneys in my office are awesome. I can't say that enough. The work that they have done every day is deserving of compliment. It's deserving of being rewarded. It's deserving of more than they get. and I look back and I see Trevor, and I see Athena, they're deserving. The fact remains that we do our job. We do our job every day. We don't get to take a day off. Arrests get made every day in this county, more than you probably realize. We don't get to defer. We don't get to punt. We don't get to say, come back later. I got finished with a 2-week murder trial. Sunday morning, I get a call of another murder that just happened in our county. I think that you can see tonight, through what's been said by the attorneys, we're exhausted. I'm exhausted. It does have an impact. It has an impact on all of us. And that's really what I mean by perspective. This Board of Supervisors, disagreements aside, has done a tremendous work to help this office, my office, get to a better position, to get to a point of being fully staffed. I have no complaints. But perspective is what we need. I don't need someone telling me that my office is being run poorly. It's not. I don't need someone telling me that my office has a systemic problem. It doesn't. Mr. Henderson made a very valid point. Let's find solutions. Mr. Unn brought forth a solution to the problem. I'm tired. I work 14-hour days. And I don't say that to whine or complain. I say that because we need perspective here. Perspective on what's important and the impact that the shortage of attorneys in this county will have. We have a great relationship with law enforcement. My attorneys are awesome. I'm going to say that again. They are awesome. I don't want to see that lessen. We are here to serve. That's why I got elected. I've served this county for over 20 years. I will serve this county as long as they let me serve this county. And you can disagree or not agree with what's been done. But what's been done is an effort to help. So let's all get back to some perspective. Mr. Raddick has somewhere to be, and he needs to pick somebody up. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to say a thank you to the attorneys. I'd like to see this as back to the drawing board. I understand that if you're in a position to not accept the MOU, we could look at further discussions. Obviously, we can't do it here. Can't do it in an open session. Can't do it in citizen concerns. On a personal note, I'm obviously very thankful for what your office does. My own daughter was kind of in a relationship with a guy that I thought was bad news. His brother shot his girlfriend, and he was found guilty, no parole. I appreciate that. because it tells others out there, obviously, some guy last weekend didn't get the memo, but you will be prosecuted if you harm women in this county. And I appreciate that.
So that's all, Mr. Loomis?
Yes. Thank you for what you do, Mr. Ron. I appreciate it. I will always appreciate your efforts that have been made. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
You're welcome. Hearing no other citizen concerns, we'll move on to board concerns, where board members can comment on this if they wish to do so. Mr. Nelson.
I'll start. I'm the rookie on the board. I got to be a part of negotiations this winter, a little bit with the attorneys, worked with secondary roads. A lot of those people are my guys. They live out next to me, live amongst me, know a lot of them. Got to work with the jailers. I had a very good time with both of those. And I think what County Attorney Loomis has just said, as well as these two over here when they talked about perspective, I'll let you in a little bit of kind of the perspective that I have. Farmers are tightwads, and they have this mentality that I'm not going to pay someone to do it if I can do it myself. And so being the rural representative is a blessing, but also I get scrutinized on every salary of every employee at the county, because why are my taxes going up? Why is the motor grader guy making $70,000? He should make 35. Sure, he could make 35 and we'd have none of them, right? And so what's tough is for weeks, the media really covered this story because it's been a travesty as long as I've been here. We've just had issues with this department not being able to get people. And so everybody's really had their head in the story about this MOU and what was going to be offered. And then I know personally I hadn't had any news that there was any issues with the MOU until after the vote failed. So that was really a shock to me. But when I've got tax-paying citizens in my ear saying, before the MOU vote, saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe these benefits that they're getting, and then it's shot down. Now my job has just gotten harder because I've been going to bat for you saying, hey, we got to build this department back up. We need people in here, and this is going to fix it. This MOU that we've got, this is good. We all agree we can fix it. And then it was shot down, and now I'm just kind of hanging out here in the wind. I've got nobody on my side. And I don't see tonight as being very constructive. We can all agree that it doesn't do anything for retention. And I think to Mr. Bittinger's point that the MOU was really going after recruitment, right? But I don't think there would have been any problem of having a separate MOU or a separate conversation about retention. And I would be open to that. But I just want you to know what I deal with. We try to take care of our people while also taking care of the people's dollar. And that's a very hard job for us, especially for me when I have these people that watch these meetings and watch the budgets like sharks. They do. And I go to bat for you guys and other people in the county all the time, substantiating what they get paid. Everyone in the county is asking about the county engineer right now. When are you going to hire a new engineer? When are you going to hire an engineer? Well, I said, I don't know that our pay is necessarily competitive, and we haven't been getting applications. And they about fall over backwards because they can't believe when they look at the engineer's salary that we couldn't get someone to work for that. Times are changing, and it's hard to get the taxpayers up to speed. They don't see necessarily the things that we do up here or some of the people in the departments. And so that's just the perspective that I want at least everyone in here to walk away with tonight, what I see when I'm trying to deal and keep our people happy and keep the people's penny happy. I appreciate all of you coming here, and I wish I could say that I would have heard from more of you through the process, but I agree with Ben. I think that it's important that there's a focal point of communication. Otherwise, for any union to try to communicate with all of us, it just becomes a hassle. So, it is what it is at this point. But I hope that we can continue to go forward. I don't think that you guys are endangering the public in any way. I know that you're overworked, and I appreciate hanging on and doing what you're doing. But more than anything, I am trying my best to look out for you, but it's not as easy as it seems. So, thank you.
And I want to thank you, Mr. Nelson, for, in addition to Mr. Bittinger in the past, being on the bargaining team with myself, not only for previous MOUs with this attorneys union, but also the master contract. Mr. Bittinger?
Sure. Thank you, sir. I want to echo the statement to the county attorneys here. We, the five of us, I'll speak for the five of us. We do value you and know you do an extraordinary high calling. Now, you can be like, whatever, that's BS, but I don't know. I think Ben would probably nod and say, no, that's true, we do. I've been in meetings with Mr. Ung and James Loomis at the beginning of this year where the three of us were sitting there with Alon too, thinking, what do we do? How do we keep employees? How do we raise their benefits? And what do we do about new hires? I remember me and Matthew and Mr. Loomis James, I mean, we're sitting there just, scratching our heads looking at things. And I remember I said, well, I'm a pastor. I'm going to pray. I'm going to call on the name of the Lord and pray because, we need help here in this county to bring in good hires and also to keep the good attorneys that we have right now. So you can believe us or not, but we do, and I don't know if I can speak for all five of you, we do value you guys and know that it's a critical department. And we're not just saying that. But I wrote a few things out because I'm not always the best at just talking, at just impromptu stuff. But let me just say this. In Proverbs 39, 8 through 9, it says this, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and the needy. And I would say to you guys, I think from my year and a half in, I'm like Mark, kind of still a new guy in this thing. We see that with you guys. So thank you for that, for defending the rights of the victims, standing up for those in this county that don't have a voice, that don't understand the law. And so I think, and James, this goes to you too, defending, right, and holding people accountable. I want to say the Woodbury County's Attorney's Office is an honorable and holy calling to represent victims of crimes and to prosecute those citizens of our county who choose to cast off the rule of law and that which is good and righteous in the eyes of God. The real concern is that within our country, there's a spirit of darkness at work against transcendent truth, holding people accountable to their evil deeds and the role of government to prosecute and bear the sword of justice. This current climate, I believe, has had a devastating effect on young attorneys that are coming out of law school and their perception of seeing the local county attorney's office as a career choice. And many of you probably would agree that have seen that. I've got a family member's attorney, one of my close friends is a state judge, and that's what they're seeing. They're not seeing this as a high and holy calling. So I would say to you guys, the board sees your calling as a very honorable and high and holy calling to defend the innocent and protect us from evil and hold people accountable. But with that said, my only concern is just the negotiations. And I would just say, on the day we passed the MOU, it concerned me that there was no pushback on that day. If there was concerns by anyone, and I just ask, and I agree with Chairman Ung on this, is that as we go forward, and Ben, for you, and Jason, and in the union members, if we are presenting something in a board meeting, if you have any discrepancies, come forward. That's okay. Come forward. But I don't want to hear personally afterwards, now everybody has discrepancies when the board unanimously passed it, and Ben, you stood up and gave us the thumbs up. Let's do this now. That's not against you, and I'm not saying you were wrong. I'm just saying Ben, I don't want you looking like a fool. Jason, I don't want you looking like a fool or anybody else. I want us to be in congruency and open and honest dialogue. Whether you think we're wrong or if we think you're wrong, or if we're about ready to pass something and you say, oh, wait up, hold on. Bring that to our attention, because I think that's part of it is what the frustration is. I would just say, for me and Matthew has been just on that day, just please speak truthfully. Just tell us if you had any disagreement, you think it wasn't good for retention, speak to us. Because Matthew and I privately have had discussions about this, and I said, Matthew, I disagree with you about this or that. And he's like, well, I disagree against you, Dan, with this and that. But we've just got to have open dialogue in those board meetings, because that's my concern, is just the communication in that. Does that make sense? Is that clear? I hope I'm clear on that. So, but anyhow, I just want to say we appreciate you guys. Ben, I do agree. I think with Matthew, you've had a good relationship. We've talked, the three of us, I think it's good. We don't want to have a bad relationship, and I know things can get tempered and hot, but we just want clarity. I think I could speak for Chairman Young and I. We just want clarity in things. And so with that, that's all my thoughts. So go ahead.
Maybe they could work it out at Olive Garden.
I got a thumbs up in the bag. There we go.
It's hypothetical. Appreciate your comments, Mr. Bittinger, as other board members have alluded to how long they're going to be here. Like me, you are going to be here next year. So that's why I apprised you along every step of the way. And I think the public isn't, the public, and by the public, I mean some of the union members and other union people from that perspective, make assumptions. You know, that the one they agree with on the board speaks for the board. The one they don't agree with obviously speaks for himself. But you've shown we're in agreement. We often play the good cop, bad cop. You're the good cop, I'm the bad cop. You promised me one day you might come into that role a little bit, take it away from me, but we're at the same spot. This is a fair MOU. It was passed not in the cover of darkness, but in the open. And as an open document, it was discussed publicly. And that's why it's public.
Right. Right, and I stand behind my words, that I believe the MOU was offered in good faith and fairness. And I will say, I'll double down my words, I do agree we should address retention issues. So I hope everyone hears me, and Ben, I hope you hear me loud and clear. We need to address that, so, and I go on record on that, put it in the paper. However, the MOU was for current new hires, and like I said, it's a matter of priority, not a matter of value or worth to our current attorneys. And I hope you hear that from my heart. It's just we can only address so much, right? Yeah, we don't have an unlimited budget, and I want to address that. And I know Chairman Ong, I know Mr. Loomis and Supervisor Nelson have all said we want to address current employees, but we have to do things in order what we think that bring the most bang for the buck. And so, with that, that's all. But we appreciate you guys. So, yeah,
Thank you.
Supervisor Taylor.
Mr. Taylor.
Thank you very much. So I too want to let people know that they are very valued, and if there was any perception that this board doesn't value you, I'm sorry that that's happened. The fact of the matter is the MOU was rejected unanimously. And as someone who's going to be here for some time, I hope one of the lessons is it's never too late to talk. So you're in a difficult spot when you represent disparate beliefs and you're going back to your members. And so point is well taken. At the time, these concerns weren't brought forward. But later on, somebody said, you know what about us, or what about this? Is this fair and equitable? And so when that call comes back, hey, we want to sit down and talk, I think it's a principled and ethical thing to say, yeah, we can talk. Now, was there authorization to begin a big negotiation? No, but having that conversation, I think it's clear a mistake was made. I think it's clear that the best thing, as County Attorney Loomis has alluded to, and Representative Henderson, is so what, now what? How are we going to go forward? And that's what I'd like to see this board, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but when, some of the time heals some of these wounds and that avenue, maybe it's somebody different on the board, making some of those discussions and forays into what is fair for all of those members. But that's what I want to see ultimately is, what are we going to do to address these issues? And let's never make it too late to have the discussion and talk. Thank you.
Mr. Raddick? Okay. All right, my turn. If you change your mind after an MOU is passed through the board that you contributed to, that's not a crime. But you're not just shifting the goalposts on me as an individual. As Mr. Nelson alluded to, he has to answer to the public for these things. Immediately after the good news of the MOU came out, I got people saying, well, how these guys got 9% last year. How are you guys doing this? You're supposed to be conservative Republicans. We have to answer to that. And so you're shifting the goalposts on the taxpayers. When the county approves something and you expect the county to go back and there's that negotiation and it's not good faith. It's not good faith negotiation. If it is negotiation, if you can negotiate outside a contract, it's not good faith. to endorse something, to give me as the board chair the impression that the union is okay with something that they're obviously absolutely not okay with in the 6 months. I asked the president of the union, and I don't expect an answer because I don't think there is one, why have a union rep if he doesn't speak for you? I mean, you're coming at me saying I don't speak for the board. That's fine. You're organized, so be organized. Have someone speak for you. Tell the board what you want. I told you in the meeting with Melissa as my witness, if you have anything else you want, please let me know by X date. This is on the agenda. If you want this delayed, also let me know. Not like 2 hours before the board vote, not after it's passed and you come up with other things. Like as has been mentioned, this is the third MOU. We could just be doing MOUs until the cows come home because contracts don't matter anymore. And we're going through hyperinflationary times, or we went through them. We're going through staffing shortages all over. This is a national crisis. I'm not blaming the union for the crisis. There is a difference here. You can be a helpful attorney, as Mr. Loomis conveyed, and I believe he did speak for the board. I mean, we're all joking about who's, everyone's wanting to speak for everybody, right? He speaks for me. He does. I've told you guys, Trevor and Athena and Matt and the others, that I appreciate your work, and I can't imagine the workload. You do a good job. You do the cases. You do, but you can't tell me that you're a more effective attorney because you have 200 as opposed to 100 felonies on your desk. You can't. It's common sense. You can be a helpful attorney and be an unhelpful union member at the same time. That is possible. You have two roles. You're in two clubs, so to speak. And that's frustrating for James, someone like James, who is just trying to administrate his office. He administrates some aspects of your job, and the board administrates others. Imagine how frustrating that must be for him when he's the one that's sometimes blamed for the staffing issue that is a national issue. And I don't blame you guys either, because it's a national issue. And I've been very clear, the board's been very clear. After the eighth vacancy occurred, the phone calls I got from these two gentlemen right here, first ones to call me, what are we going to do about this? Do we need an MOU? I sought out Ben. We did an MOU. When I called Todd, he told me we don't need an MOU. We can just do it. He said, who told you you need an MOU? I said, Ben. What is going on here? We're just being played and played and played again and again. And as Mr. Nelson said, other unions are looking at this and they're saying, well, why do they have to ruin it for us? It does matter if the relationship is not preserved for you as well, not just me. Loomis's comments are what sparked my action and Dan's prayers. But going back to what I said about there being the difference between being a helpful attorney and an unhelpful union member, how does he say, thank you for trying to help, without trying to bite my head off up here? How is that possible? Maybe because he's not in a union and he just does his job. I'm not saying it's a bad system if the people are good. And if they negotiate in good faith and they give me their word. So if they negotiate how you want them. Excuse me, it's my turn. You can put the phone down. You could have come up during citizen concerns. This is all recorded, by the way, already on YouTube. I'm disappointed the union is apparently unwilling to engage in documented conversations so that our conversations are not twisted. That's all I want. I want to be fairly represented. If I'm going to be attacked, I can take it. I just prefer to be attacked with the truth. This is what I have to say to this reaction. What about the perspective Mr. Loomis mentioned on, we have a problem, we're trying to fix it? You are unserious people. The People's Choice for County Attorney has told the board that attorney understaffing is a public safety issue. And the local union's representative told the board it has been, quote, catastrophic. Either this is serious or people are lying to me. Either this is serious or people are lying to me. I initiated and asked for a meeting with your union members, which went very well. The board acted swiftly to prioritize recruitment while still granting additional benefits to existing employees. It's not true, with all due respect, that it does nothing for existing staff members. It does. That's not the focus, though. It was the focus, I believe, of the second MOU. The board acted swiftly to prioritize recruitment while still granting additional benefits to existing employees with a third MOU with this union outside of contract bargaining. And in years past, when I think it's fair to say Mr. Taylor and I were on sailing smoother waters together, we'd have conversations about MOUs and don't they realize this is a gift? It is fundamentally a gift. You're outside of contract negotiation. You're under a master contract. Until June 30th, 2027, you agreed through your legal representative to accept X wages and X and Y benefits. That's the truth. That's the cold, harsh truth. And then you changed your mind and refused it. Now you talk about being, quote, attacked, and the local Democratic Party talks about, quote, taking back their rights. Wilson Trailer is laying off 58 workers, and you are obstructing the county's efforts to help the staffing issues. You're like kids throwing a tantrum because you changed your mind about the Christmas present you wanted. You preached the virtues of unions at the Labor Day picnic while refusing 5 more days of vacation and a new work-from-home provision for the attorneys who say they're overworked, which does not exist without an MOU. Whoever had any role in refusing this MOU or cheering on its refusal is a blight on this county.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to respond.
I'm speaking.
I understand that. I'd like to respond since you invoked my name. So when your time is done and you're done with your speech, I'd like to respond.
That's okay. When it's clear I'm done, you can do that. Again, you're unserious people. Obsessed about who has your phone number to defend your actions versus the content of the MOU. As part of the board, I have done more voluntary MOUs with unions than any union rep or Democratic board member in the known history of Woodbury County. Gifting raises and benefits when not required by law. I praised you. I advocated for you. I incorporated your suggestions. I appealed privately to you, which you'll never talk about. Now sign the MOU. You can curse me and grit your teeth at me while you do it. You can burn my effigy while you do it. But sign it. Stop whining and be a part of the solution. Now it's time for Mr. Taylor's response.
I think it's clear the chairman made a mistake. I'm sorry for any of you. A union isn't some outside organization. And when you call on a union to be disbanded, you're asking for the decertifying of these attorneys. They just came up here and said you've insulted them. And you can't have it both ways. You can't say, Mr. Loomis and I are on the same page, and then say, unless you want to stand by this, Mr. Loomis, these are bad union members, unserious people. You're like children. You're a blight. How dare you?
Thank you.
How dare you?
Resign.
And you know what? It's one thing to listen to everyone and then say, well, we can have it both ways. You're a great attorney and you work really hard, but you're acting like a child, so sign this. You're a great attorney and you work 18 hours a day, but you're a blight. You're a great attorney, but when you take something back to your members and you talk about it, if you don't lockstep agree with what I'm saying, then there's no place for you in this county. You are endangering public safety. Are you serious? And you're nodding. That's what's insulting. None of these guys believe that. Not one supervisor has agreed with what you did. Not one. Ask them. You don't speak for this board, and when you insult people, when you use scorched earth politics like this, you don't speak for me. I don't think you speak for Mr. Loomis. He wouldn't stand by unless you want to correct me, Mr. County Attorney, that you have unserious people in your office that are a blight like children and sign this right now. That's not good faith negotiations. That's bad faith. So don't tell these people that they're acting in bad faith. And you see the nods from the other supervisors. So don't think it's just some sort of personal penny ante thing. Ask them.
Passionate speech, thank you. Sign the MOU. Be a part of the solution.
Can I speak?
No, we've passed citizen concerns.
Do what you think is right and engage in good faith negotiations. And if after the fact you say, let's talk, I hope that this board is willing to sit down and talk and not say it's too late and not insult you into signing something that obviously everyone in this room doesn't agree with. Do what you think is right, as I've known you to do in the past, and you'll do the right thing.
Anyone else want to comment?